What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm also going to be talking about this inverse head and shoulders like structures developing on SPY, which could be signaling a potential reversal for Nvidia's earnings and the big catalyst to come out for today. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below or use my QR code right here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvidia stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of Nvidia. Deposits $10,000 to get $300 worth of the stock, or deposits $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia. You're also going to qualify for a 3.6% APY base rate plus a 4.5% APY extra for 3 months, making an 8.1% APY in total. The offer ends very soon, so please check out my link down below. Anyways, as far as the market's going, as you can tell, SPY is beginning to form an inverse head and shoulders like pattern. This is sort of like resembling a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. And if we continue to make higher lows, we could see SPY attempt to reverse and start pushing back up towards the 668 to 670 area. Now, we need confirmation first. It's possible SPY is trying to make a higher low, but this depends on if we can maintain the structure after all the catalysts that are going to be coming out. Right now, there's lots of news about how, there's been a lot of hype involving AI, and some sources are saying that Wall Street may be losing some excitement. Others are saying that Wall Street are just trying to get risk off, which is why Nvidia has been selling off quite a bit. It's down more than 4% this week as investors await its third quarter results and are waiting to see what's going to happen with earnings for Nvidia. Nvidia announced a partnership with Microsoft as we're seeing bigger investments being made, and we're going to continue to see a lot of growth. And simultaneously, Nvidia is known for doing very well when it comes to earnings, but we're going to see what happens as time goes on. Target also had their earnings, and they were slightly below Wall Street's expectations, unfortunately, but we're going to see what happens at least as time goes on. For other pieces of news that I want to talk about, we also have some news about the equities markets in Europe. So far, the European equity markets did bounce a bit. That's once again a sign that, that could be a positive sign, at least for the American markets. We'll see about that. And then on top of this, we are starting to see some bonds continuing to rise, especially as we approach the FOMC minutes, which is going to be very key so far. So, what's on the agenda for today? Just two important things to remember, okay? The first thing would be our data. There's not really much data coming out this morning. We just got our imports and exports involving trade, but it gets very, very serious later on during the day. We have a couple of bill and bond auctions at 11:30 and 1 p.m., which are a little minor, but things get very serious by 2 p.m. as we have the FOMC minutes. This may cause some higher volatility. So get ready for the FOMC minutes, giving us more insights about what the Fed is thinking about monetary policy. This could cause some volatility. For tomorrow, we also have the unemployment rates, non-farm payrolls, and lots of job status coming out. So that's going to likely cause a lot of volatility. So be ready for that. But for now, we're going to focus on the FOMC minutes firstly. And then secondly, don't forget that after market close, we have Nvidia announcing its earnings. This will likely cause some high volatility for the markets if Nvidia gets a bounce. So we'll see how it goes. Or if Nvidia gets a sell off, that could also cause us to dump. So what I'm looking for right now on SPY is that we have this possible inverse head and shoulders like pattern, a left shoulder, a head, and a possible right shoulder forming. But I think we dip a little bit upon open back down to 660. But the question is, can we make higher lows and then continue to bounce? And if we do, as long as we can hold 660, I don't want to see us lose 658. As long as we hold this, we could attempt to reverse for 668 or above. There could be a nice reversal coming. But if we end up losing 658, it's going to be a bad sign, and this could be dipping to 655. So I want to see us basically bounce before we touch 658. I want to see us bounce near 660 and see this inverse head and shoulders pan out for SPY. I do favor this a little bit more because of the current setup. You could also take a trend line just like this and kind of draw it out like this, which is where SPY could be touching its support and kind of like bouncing off of. However, I don't know for sure. I can't promise that this will pan out because it also depends on the FOMC minutes and Nvidia's earnings today, right after market close. Those are going to be other factors affecting this. Hopefully, we see this reverse. I would like to see us bounce a bit, and we'll see if that ends up being the case. We have a very similar setup on the triple Q. These supports we marked are panning out so far. We have this left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. If we lose 594, it's a bad sign for the QQQ, and we could be making new lows. But as long as we could bounce before 594, we could reverse and start pushing for the low 600s, like 600 to 603. Those become very, very possible. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. On the IWM, we also have an inverse head and shoulders like pattern. We could be dipping back down towards 233, then we could bounce back up towards 235, and we'll see if that ends up being the case. On ES, we're also looking quite decent. We have a left shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder forming. Now, if we end up losing 66.20, we could be dumping back down towards these lows. But as long as we try to make a higher low here, I would like to see us basically hold above 66.40. We're also looking for an inverse head and shoulders on ES. So we're seeing this pattern developing across the board, and this could be looking for a bounce. On NQ, the same thing is going on. We have a left shoulder, head, and right shoulder. I want to see us basically hold this support and rebound back up towards 24,800. Hopefully, we hold support. I do not want to see us lose 24,400. I want to see us bounce before that. And we're looking for an inverse head and shoulders reversal. Bitcoin, similar setup. We basically had a low here, came up, made a higher low. I want to see us break 91,500 to start rebounding. I do not want to see us lose 90,500 on Bitcoin. I want to see us make a higher low and attempt some kind of reversal. Tesla's also forming a potential reversal structure. On the 30 minutes time frame is trying to push here. It could come down to fill this gap at 398 to 400. I think it consolidates for some time, then attempts to bounce back up towards 415. As long as you don't lose 390, and I was talking about this yesterday, we had a low here, came up, made a higher low. This could be forming an inverse head and shoulders, and Tesla could try to bounce for 415. But as long as you hold 390, the bulls have a bigger edge for Tesla. So keep that in mind. For Nvda, I'm going to actually zoom out on Nvda on the 4-hour time frame real quick. I noticed that, look at the setups, right? We had this yellow line right here acting as resistance. We were forming like a wedge here, and then we broke out. The same thing is going on right here. We have this yellow line acting as resistance. Are we about to break out of this thanks to earnings, or do we get a massive rug pull? We'll see, just to be safe, but there is potential for it to bounce. Apple's losing structure, looking a little bit weaker this morning. Could retest essentially 264 to 265. This is resistance becoming support, so we'll see if Apple could bounce off of that or not. So watch that very closely, as there is some downside risk. For a few more tickers, we have AMD, which could be dipping towards 219. If this rejects here, there's 219 to 220. We'll see if we bounce, but there is some downside risk for like 224 or below. Coinbase is technically on a downtrend. It could be dipping back down to 260, and we'll see if we bounce or not. On Amazon, we are once again on a big downtrend. We're going to be watching support at 222. We got to hold 222 to 220. If 220 fails us, that's bearish. But if we hold it, we could be looking for a nice rebound for essentially 229. Meta, it's kind of weak. I'd like to see this retest 605. Google it kind of gapped up here, might come down to fill this gap at 284, and we'll see if it bounces. And then Microsoft, I'd like to see this basically hold 488 to 490. If we hold this, there's a slight bullish divergence, and that could take us back up to 501. The VIX is also on an uptrend, but we're going to see if the VIX is going to reverse here or not. The inverse head and shoulders is mostly complete, but we're going to see if there's one more spike or if we get a rejection here. It depends on Nvda and the FOMC minutes. There's an inverse head and shoulders like pattern forming on SPY and the QQQ. We're going to see if we could hold support and continue to make higher lows. I want to see SPY not lose 658. I want to see us bounce near like 660 and then continue to uptrend. I want to see the QQQ not lose 594 and continue to bounce. If we hold and these inverse head and shoulders pan out, I think the QQQ could easily get back to like 602 or so or above, and SPY could get back up to like 666, 668, and 670 plus. If we do truly bounce. So we'll see what happens with the FOMC minutes. We'll see what happens with Nvidia's earnings, and we'll be very, very patient nonetheless. Thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.